I'm Nikita Turk.
I'm Tommy Tindall.
And today we are answering Reddit questions about budget apps. Now, Tommy, when we think of managing our finances, kind of nice to automate things wherever you can, which is kind of where budgeting apps shine, right? But folks have a lot of questions about, is a budgeting app right for me? So should we do the first question?
Let's do it.
Budgeting apps, are they safe?
Totally a valid question. The first thing to do there is really look at the apps and understand how the app company protects your information, how seriously they take it. And it should be right there in bold on the website. You want to look for things like industry standard encryption, and you want to see that the partners they use, maybe to pull your accounts and things like that, do the same thing. So for example, NerdWallet's app, we use TransUnion for pulling credit scores, and we partner with Plaid to securely link your financial accounts. There's also things that you can do. I mean, the age old have a long, strong password that's really hard to guess. That kind of thing helps too.
Well, what about if you just don't want to do that? This person says, what's the best budgeting app that doesn't link to your bank? Like, what if you decide you're just too scared to link your bank?
Yeah, I get that. I've probably been there. I've graduated past that, but I think one thing, when you do look and do a little research about like how the security works and the encryption, you probably feel a little less worried. But the good news is it's not always required. There's a lot of apps that will let you connect your accounts manually or just enter information manually. And then some apps kind of omit it. One of them that comes to mind is Good Budget. And then another one is EveryDollar, the free version, doesn't link accounts. But just keep this in mind. If you're not going to link the accounts, it's going to be a much more hands-on and manual process. And if you do link your accounts, it's going to be more automated and hands-off. So you got to think about what you want. If you're going hands-on, you may want to just start with a spreadsheet, sort of move over to an app once you're more comfortable. But of course, NerdWallet has guidelines for budgeting and templates you can use if you do want to start with a spreadsheet.
Having the spreadsheet as an option, it perfectly segues us into this next question, which is budgeting. Envelope method versus the apps versus spreadsheets. How do I decide between those options?
Well, I just say, like, if you're budgeting in the first place, I think you're winning. You're starting to look at your finances. That's a good thing. And I mean, all of the different systems, I think, have merit. You got to think about what works for you. So let's talk about the envelope method. So that's really, assigning funds to specific categories. And it gets its name because you literally, if you use cash, you stuff cash into envelopes marked for specific categories. Think $75 for food out that month, and you put that in an envelope. Then you're talking spreadsheet. It's another method. And this maybe gets you down to a zero-based budget where you are accounting for every single thing, and you have full control over your finances or over how you look at your finances. You bring your income in and you look line by line at all of your expenses, and you're probably going to end up using like your credit card apps and your bank app just to pull that information in. And then we get to apps, which really automate that process and brings it all together. And a lot of the apps use sort of some of these budgeting systems like the envelope method. But again, if you're starting to budget, you're starting to get clarity in where your money is going. And I think that's a good way to go.
You can kind of experiment a little bit here. Like, I was a diehard spreadsheeter, but sometimes life would start lifing and I wasn't keeping up with it as good as maybe I'd like. And I tried out an app, automating it that way, and it ended up working better for my lifestyle. So, but if it hadn't worked out, maybe I would have bounced back. I just feel like if you're curious about something, it's okay to test the waters a little bit.
Yeah, I would agree. I've tried them all. I've tried different methods. I like control. So I've tried the spreadsheet, but I also like, I like not having to think about my finances all the time. So an app sort of just gives you that quick glance. But for others, it may make them think about their finances too much.
Right.
Committing to a budget is easier when you have a system to guide you through saving, spending, and the occasional splurging. Once you create your budget, you'll need to actually hold yourself responsible for monitoring it, sticking to it, and shifting your spending habit as needed.
Okay, so Tommy, we decided that a budgeting app is right for us. But now, how do I actually choose a budgeting app, right? So this person says, is it worth paying for a budgeting app tool? And do you ever really get to the point where you don't need one?
It's hard to say that it's worth paying for it when there are so many free options out there. But if you look, some of the paid versions do expand features. And I think you have to think about, what is best for you. One example is the app Good Budget, the free version. has uses the envelope system, and you have limited envelopes in the free version. But if you pay, you get unlimited envelopes, and there are other features that it opens up. But that's just an example. So I think you got to pick what works for you. And I think, whether or not you get to the point where you don't need an app anymore, I think no, because you probably just get more comfortable with knowing your finances because you know where to look. You can just take a glance, and you're not poring over it like you were before when you first started.
Yeah. I think you touched on a really good point where it's just that you have to decide what the value is for you. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's worth paying a little something for your own convenience, for your own peace of mind, or just
I think so.
free up your time a little bit.
In Reddit, people are wondering, is it worth the time? Does it save me X amount of hours? And I also think you need to look at the cost, right? Is the exercise of budgeting saving you more than the annual cost of this app? That might help you decide too.
Good point. The best budgeting app for a newbie. What do you think?
I'm trying to think. One of them comes to mind, Pocket Guard. That is they offer a free version. You can sync your accounts. You can track your spending and your bills. You hear a lot about You Need a Budget. This is a paid app, but it's popular because it's really robust and it kind of hinges off these rules and goals for your spending. Some people like that. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the free NerdWallet app, which lets you link to your bank accounts and credit card accounts, look at your cash flow, monitor your credit score every time you open the app. And one thing I really like is it gives you a 50-30-20 budget breakdown. So you can see how your money's going, how it stacks up against this popular budget, which is where you put 50% towards needs, 30% towards wants, and 20% towards saving or debt.
You said my favorite thing, which is free. I love a free trial, especially if you're jumping into something new and you're not sure if this is right for you. I think that the idea of starting it free and then building in some of those other features or upgrading later once you kind of get the hang of it, that's a really cool approach. I like that.
Yeah, and I think, and even the paid versions, almost always, I would say there is a free trial. So you can start there and, you don't have to commit up front.
What do you think are the best budgeting app features that people should keep an eye out for?
First of all, what is your, the user, what is the feature that means the most to you or that you're looking for? And some people, myself included, what's really important is cash in. I want to see the cash in and cash out every month so I can, try to have less cash going out, over time.
That's always the goal.
I think other popular features are, being able to link your accounts once you're comfortable with that. You see people wondering if they can transfer their data, especially with the end of Mint being announced. Being able to customize categories, set goals for spending, look at sort of snazzy graphs to show how their money's going in the certain month. Being able to share accounts with partners and use the app to budget with your partner. So I also like advice. I want to know if I'm spending my money the right way, which is why I mentioned the 50-30-20 really resonates with me. But lots of features out there that are popular.
Yeah, that's true. And everyone has a different preference. I like a good visual. I'm very visual. I want to just look at it and understand all the things as opposed to having to dig around for stuff. So there's a little something for everyone.
When choosing a budgeting app, look for the features that are most important to you and avoid paying for extra stuff you don't need. Be realistic about how much you are prepared to take on manually and what you prefer to keep automated.
Obviously, people have a lot of questions about Mint shutting down. This person says Mint is closing down. What are your budget app alternatives?
Every app sort of approaches budget with a unique spin, right? That's how they're trying to get you to do it, right? They've got their unique feature set that they offer. Apps like You Need a Budget, Good Budget, they use this envelope system method, which a lot of people like because it's simple and it's relatable. There's an app called Honeydew, which is for budgeting with your honey. It's got a couples sort of theme to it to make that easier, which I know that can be a hard thing to do. So I think it's really about figuring out what's most important to you, doing a little research, looking at the reviews. As I mentioned, making sure that you are comfortable with the security practices.
Migration. What's the best app for rollover budgets? If you need to shift your budgeting app to a different app.
I've done some research on this, and I know that Monarch and You Need a Budget, they are two apps that allow you to import, but you don't always have to start over. And I know that this is a concern because some people have used Mint for years, right? And it's they're worried about all their data. How do they get it? And I think Mint will let you download that data. But some apps even, they'll sync multiple years of your transaction history when you link an account. So that can be helpful too.
Mint versus NerdWallet. What are some of the differences that stand out to you between the two apps?
Got to give Mint credit, right? Mint and NerdWallet, both these apps are designed to make your life easier. Mint was sort of one of the original budget apps, I think, which is why so many people have used it, right? But I think what NerdWallet does is sort of builds on that and gives you sort of the whole financial enchilada, to use a cheesy term. And you can look at your cash flow, your credit score, net worth, like assets versus your accounts. I mean, I think it even pulls in your home value, so you can look at your equity at that. So I think it's really just taking that budgeting app to the next level of your financial life.
Using an app like NerdWallet that has comprehensive financial features, like the ability to review spending, get your financial health and credit scores, and has an accessible user interface, can take some of the burden off the platform change. Apps like Monarch and YNAB can help streamline the data transfer process.
So Tommy, if there was one thing you wanted people to take away about budgeting apps, what would that be?
Yeah, I go back to the idea of sort of linking your financial accounts and how that can be a difficult, a little bit scary decision to make, for people who are new. The more research I do, when I go on the app's website and I learn at least the high level about, how much they value security and the encryption practices, and how the third parties may or may not actually work with the bank or institution to make that link seamless. It's made me feel a lot better about it. I've gotten more comfortable, and doing so has made getting that full picture of my finances so much easier.
Thanks so much for watching Control Finance. If you want more details about some of the apps we talked about today, make sure you do a search here on the NerdWallet YouTube channel for my budget app videos. I break it all down for y'all. I'll see you there. Bye.